Many people believe attraction is simple. They think if they're kind, attentive, and consistent, she will automatically stay interested. But attraction is not just about effort. It's about energy. It's about emotional dynamics. It's about subtle signals that most men never notice. Here's the truth. A woman can lose interest even when you're doing everything right. Not because you failed, not because you're weak, but because the human mind reacts to psychological patterns that go beyond actions. For example, consistency without growth can feel safe, but also predictable. Predictability can quietly kill excitement. When everything is easy, her mind starts looking for challenge. Not because she's manipulative, but because the brain craves emotional stimulation. Another reason, when you give too much attention without holding space for your own life, she may sense a subtle dependency. Even unconsciously, it lowers perceived value. Attraction thrives on balance. Respect grows from independence and self-possession, not constant availability. And this is where most men fail to see it. They think attraction equals compliance. They think respect equals agreement. But human connection is deeper. It responds to presence, not perfection. It responds to confidence under subtle pressure, not constant reassurance. Here's another layer. A woman's interest is heavily influenced by emotional variety. If your energy is predictable and your presence is always the same, her subconscious brain interprets it as safe but boring. Emotional boredom is one of the main reasons interest fades, even when everything else seems perfect. And notice this carefully. It's not about grand gestures. It's about small dynamic cues, energy shifts, tone of voice, subtle boundaries, emotional steadiness. When these cues are missing, her mind begins to pull back. She's not consciously rejecting you. She's just naturally recalibrating to emotional input. The reality is this: you can do everything right and still lose her interest if you forget the psychology behind attraction. This is why some men succeed effortlessly and others struggle despite good behavior. If you want to understand the real reason she may be losing interest, even when you're perfect on paper, stay with me, because the next part goes deeper. We'll uncover exactly what subtle patterns trigger disinterest and how you can naturally keep attraction alive. Now let's go deeper, because the moment attraction starts fading rarely looks dramatic on the surface. There is no obvious argument, no sudden rejection. Instead, it begins with small emotional shifts. Less excitement in her responses, less curiosity about your life, less emotional engagement in conversations. And this is where many people get confused. They start trying harder, more messages, more reassurance, more effort to prove their value. But paradoxically, this is often the moment that accelerates the loss of interest. Because attraction rarely grows from pressure. It grows from emotional freedom. When someone feels that your entire focus is centered on keeping them interested, the dynamic slowly changes. You stop appearing like a man with direction and begin appearing like someone seeking approval. And approval rarely creates attraction. Confidence does. Self-direction does. Emotional independence does. This is why some men appear naturally magnetic without constantly trying. Their energy communicates something powerful, They enjoy connection, but they don't depend on it. They value the relationship, but they also value their own life. That balance is deeply attractive because it signals something rare: inner stability. Now, before we continue, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to Masculine Mind Lab. It helps this message reach more men who are trying to understand the deeper psychology behind relationships. Now let's continue. Another reason interest fades even when you seem to be doing everything right is emotional predictability. Human psychology responds strongly to emotional contrast. Moments of humor, moments of calm, moments of mystery. When every interaction feels identical, the brain stops releasing the same level of curiosity and excitement. This doesn't mean you should play games. It simply means attraction thrives when someone feels there is more depth to discover. When a man becomes completely transparent too quickly, the sense of discovery disappears, and with it, part of the emotional tension that fuels attraction. But perhaps the most misunderstood factor is how women interpret subtle confidence signals. Confidence is not loud. It is not arrogance. It is the quiet certainty that you are comfortable in your own world. When that certainty disappears, even slightly, it can change the emotional tone of the entire connection. This is why attraction sometimes fades, even when the man believes he has done everything right. Because attraction is rarely about perfection. It is about emotional presence. It is about the quiet signals that communicate strength, independence, and authenticity. And when those signals remain strong, interest tends to remain strong as well. But there is still one deeper layer that many people never notice. A subtle shift that often marks the exact moment a woman begins losing emotional investment. And in the next part, we're going to uncover that moment and explain exactly how to recognize it before it becomes too late. There is a moment in many relationships that most people never notice. Nothing dramatic happens, no argument, no sudden confrontation, but something subtle changes. Her emotional investment begins to fade. And the reason is rarely what men expect. It is not always about looks. It is not always about money. And it is rarely about doing something wrong. Often, it is about emotional perception. Attraction depends heavily on how someone feels when they are around you. Do they feel excitement? Do they feel curiosity? Do they feel emotional tension, or do they feel something else? Comfort without spark. Safety without mystery. When connection becomes completely predictable, the mind begins to relax in a different way. The challenge disappears. The emotional edge disappears. And without realizing it, her mind starts searching for stimulation elsewhere. Not necessarily another man, but another feeling. This is where many men make a critical mistake. They sense her distance and immediately try to fix it. More messages, more reassurance, more effort. But attraction rarely responds well to pressure. In fact, pressure often confirms the exact fear that caused the loss of interest in the first place. Because when someone begins chasing validation, their energy changes. Confidence becomes uncertainty. Presence becomes pursuit. And pursuit without balance slowly weakens attraction. Now, before we continue, if you're finding value in this conversation, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Masculine Mind Lab. This helps more men discover the psychology behind attraction, confidence, and emotional intelligence. Now let's continue. The truth is this: women rarely lose interest because a man was too respectful. They lose interest when the emotional dynamic stops evolving. Attraction thrives on growth, on direction, on the feeling that the man she's with is constantly becoming more of himself, more grounded, more focused, more aligned with his own purpose. When that energy is present, it creates something powerful. Not pressure, not control, but magnetic curiosity. She wants to stay. She wants to understand him more. She wants to remain emotionally connected to the world he is building. This is why the strongest form of attraction is not performance. It is authenticity combined with direction. A man who respects himself, protects his time, and continues growing naturally maintains emotional gravity. Because attraction is not sustained by perfection. It is sustained by presence, by independence, and by the quiet confidence that your life has meaning beyond the relationship itself. When that foundation exists, interest rarely fades easily. And even when challenges appear, respect remains intact. So remember this: you do not keep attraction alive by doing everything right. You keep it alive by becoming the kind of man whose energy continues evolving. A man with depth, a man with direction, a man whose presence always leaves room for discovery. Follow Masculine Mind Lab for more insights on masculine psychology, emotional intelligence, and the deeper dynamics of attraction.